Welcome to Merkaba Chakras, where we talk Buddhism in the fifth dimension.
Welcome to another podcast episode of Merkaba Chakras. I'm your host, Vaughn Galtz, and today we have a conversation about UAPs, UFOs, extra-dimensional ETs, and what the heck is going on with our reality as we dive deeper into the fifth dimension with UFO author Preston Dennett. Now, before we begin, I want to say I have been reading your emails to restart this podcast, and I am restarting it, but on a very minimal basis with fewer episodes. The reason is because a very popular video sharing platform has been cutting my views, comments, and likes. So you can help out the algorithm by engaging with these episodes to bring me back up there in viewership. So we're going to go right into it by looking at this video of the 2023 U.S. Congress discussing government interaction with UFOs and possibly ETs, and then bring Preston on for his reaction.
If you believe we have crashed craft, stated earlier, do we have the bodies of the pilots who piloted this craft?
As I've stated publicly already in my News Nation interview, biologics came with some of these recoveries. Yeah.
Were they, I guess, human or non-human biologics?
Non-human, and that was the assessment of people with direct knowledge on the program I talked to that are currently still on the program.
And was this documentary evidence, this video, photos, eyewitness? Like, how would that be determined?
The specific documentation I would have to talk to you in a skiff about.
So, Preston, what do you think about that? So, the government is acknowledging it, and it seems like they're trying to bring out just cram everything of all the history that's been hidden with this research that they've been doing, trying to get ahead of some kind of curve. What do you think?
Well, it's certainly unprecedented to a large degree. I mean, we haven't had any movement in official circles for decades on this subject with any acknowledgement really whatsoever. All the previous government studies like Blue Book and the Condon Committee and the Robertson panel said there's nothing to this. Go away. If you think you saw a UFO, you are mentally ill. Yeah. You are lying, you're hoaxing, hallucinating, or misperceiving. Right. So now here we are with a completely unprecedented viewpoint with our own governments taking this subject seriously. I think that's groundbreaking. I wouldn't call this disclosure by any means. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. This is really all talk, no real action, but it's certainly progress. David Grush, I think, has a good resume. I mean, I think, while he isn't necessarily a direct participant to a lot of what he's talking about, and I'm not a fan of the polysyllabic circumlocution, as my dad would say, biologics. I mean, call them what they are, ETs, bodies, extraterrestrial craft, all this, non-human intelligence. I mean, you're just kind of talking in circles and playing with semantics here. Don't think that's helpful. But I am excited to see that our own Congress has admitted, yes, there is a cover-up. No, the Pentagon isn't cooperating. Some of us have had encounters. Mm-hmm. I mean, there was some real strong rhetoric there. And to see these guys, not only Grush, but Fravor and Graves coming up there and talking about the subject in a very serious way without giggling and rolling your eyes and just making fun of the subject, It's huge. It's huge. It's bringing a lot of attention to this subject that is long overdue. It's bringing a lot of people, granting them some legitimacy. Because another thing that bothers me is, they'll talk about sightings and they'll talk about the possible crash retrievals, but they're not talking about the fact that people are having direct contact and interactions. They have yet to bring an actual contactee and talk to them. And they're not showing us any real evidence, and I know they have it. Mm-hmm. So I'm of two minds about it. It's progress, but it's not disclosure. And it's a little bit of, don't look at the man behind the curtain. This is not the droid you're looking for. 2 steps sideways, 1 step back. They have the evidence. We need to really push this forward at a much more rapid rate.
Right.
I feel like, just to wrap it up, the only reason they're doing this is to remain in control of the narrative. Because now there's so much evidence that to not talk about this would make you look like an idiot, would make you look like you are not reliable,
right,
or even irrelevant. So they're trying to just maintain control of the narrative.
Well, the narrative keeps on evolving, and now it's from this Senate Congress disclosures with military officials discussing this. Now it's moving into local civilians. So the Major City Chiefs Association, MCCA, is a professional organization of police executives representing the largest cities in the United States and Canada. So I'm going to show the website, and it's also in the show descriptions of what the MCCA is and what the big buzz in the recent document is about. So let me share that. All right, so this is the website, majorcitieschiefs.com, and there's their executive board, so you guys can do some research. It's a good-looking panel, I must say. They recruited some good-looking people for the association to be part of their board. But what is fascinating about this specific topic is they came out with this document in June of 2024. And it's a reference guide to local police officers all across the United States and Canada about how to handle when the general public, regular people like you and I, start seeing UAPs, unidentified anomalous phenomena, or UFOs or ETs, anything of this nature, extra-dimensional nature, whether we can define it as labeled or not. But this is the reference document that I had found off the MCCA website. But you can also just do a Google search on DuckDuckGo and any other ones that aren't as, filtered, I guess you would say. But the reference document is very, very in-depth. It has links and guides and all that kind of stuff that the MCCA is informing police officers to be aware of and prepare how you're going to respond if and when, see, they're talking about the U.S. Congress UAP hearing, if and when, it doesn't even matter of if, it just sounds like it's a matter of when the general public starts having encounters with extra-dimensional beings and their technology, whatever it is. So it's pretty in-depth, with a lot of different hyperlinks to the UK government, to National Archives. I mean, you can go on and on to NASA. So I'm just going to kind of scroll through so you guys can see this official document from the MCCA. And it's starting to happen. And as we go further and further into the years, it's starting to get even more interesting. So, Preston, what do you think about that? Well, that police officers are now being prepped on not just how to combat drugs and crime, but ET encounters with people, civilians.
Yeah, well, I'm of 2 minds about it because
Okay.
I'm aware of this, and if you look into that, it's super interesting, and it's got some real valid information in there in terms of the history of this subject and the different UFO study groups that are present, and the fact that this has been going on for a very long time. So here's the good news. This is subject that is real. If you look into it, we know this. And police officers have certainly known this. They're on the front line. There are a huge number of police officers who've had encounters. This is a major part of this subject. And many of them have seen humanoids. Many of them have been taken on board. There's quite a few cases of this sort of thing. Oh, yeah. So this is absolutely good news for police officers, I think, who are finally given the freedom. Sorry, here's a kitty.
Oh, you have your kitty. We adopted. Lucas, come here, honey. My husband and I adopted a rescue as well.
She always insists on being on the show.
we adopted a rescue. Mochus. I call him Mochus Pocus because he doesn't bark. But his name, the vet called him Mocha, and because it kind of stuck. But yeah, but this is our mutt. Oh, we're sharing our pets now. Yeah, Mocha sits with me when I do work and when I do podcast episodes, et cetera, et cetera. But he's a good boy. We adopted him from Texas. He got relocated from Texas with his 50-pound lab brother puppy from Texas because his father deceased in the house, and I guess he wasn't collecting his checks, and so the administration that issues those checks went to check on his house, and they found 2 emaciated dogs just licking moss and water off the drinking fountains and wherever, just trying to survive. So he's put his weight back on. So he's our little rescue that made it all to a new safe home. But God bless his father. He has a really good dog. So this is maybe the new mascot for Merkaba Chakras. Okay, say bye-bye. Okay. I love that. I told you this is going to be informal.
I love it. We all love our little animals.
Yeah.
But seriously, this, is a big step forward for police officers. Many who are on the front lines, having encounters, are not allowed to talk about it, have regretted coming forward. There's the case of Alan Godfrey, who was badly ridiculed by his fellow officers. His superiors ridiculed him as well. He was eventually forced to resign. They took his car away and gave him a bicycle. It was humiliating.
Yeah.
Officer Amparano from California had a very close-up encounter, which, actually gave him a sunburn. It's very well verified. He was passed over for promotion. This is a big deal. So now for them to be able to have some recourse, some legitimacy is fantastic. Yeah. And there should be guidelines to deal with this. But, that's the good news. Right? If you go through this document on a line-by-line basis, right at the beginning was a phrase that just made my toes curl.
What was the phrase?
That UFOs and UAPs was spy drones and satellites present a clear and present danger. This is a pushing of the fear narrative that is unwarranted, not justified, not true. In fact, Alan Godfrey, the police officer, he was healed as a result of his encounter.
Right.
ETs are not here to take over, is what I'm saying. They're not here to hurt. They're not here to harm or cause fear or any of this. This is a narrative that's being put forth by our own governments, secret governments, intelligence agencies, highest levels of the military, and people are kind of falling in line with it. And I'm concerned. There are polls on Facebook. Do you think ETs are a threat? 80% of people say no. So that's really concerning to me. While our own, governments on this planet are threats to each other, to some extent. I mean, even that is a bit of a paradigm that's being pushed on us because there's enough food for everybody.
Right.
There's enough space. There's enough supplies. There's enough that we should all be able to get along without wars and unequal distribution of wealth and all the division. So I'm concerned about that aspect of it. But super excited that, this is a subject that is going into the mainstream. And this is a big part of it, that document. This is huge because pilots are now able to report this without fear of reprisals. Police officers should be too, because that's their job. They are out there. It's their job to see if there's anything unusual going on. They see a UFO and can't talk about it. That's like putting handcuffs on them. which makes zero sense. It's absolutely absurd to muzzle a police officer to the point where he can't even talk about what is happening. So it's good news, and I'm treading carefully with this one.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting how more and more debunkable. I mean, there's always going to be debunkers, like, oh, that was a this or that was a that. Okay, let's wait till the next time. And so eventually you get to a point where, okay, I don't understand what is going on, but it's going on and it exists. So you get to a neutral space. All skeptics eventually get to a neutral space, and that's fine. That's starting from scratch. So
at the point we have to have a baseline, something we can all agree upon. And I think certainly that something is happening.
Yeah, let's see what the next one is. So here's another one. So we're gonna watch. I don't know if you remember this one, the Miami Mall alien incident. Okay, so it was reported on Fox 2 Detroit. Of all of the different reactions that I've watched on this and footage on TikTok and other ones, this one kind of sums up it pretty good. So it's starting to hit the local people level. So let's watch this one.
We have something to discuss here about an alien, potentially. Miami police clearing up some conspiracy theories about a recent invasion. On New Year's Day, a large police presence was caught on video surrounding a mall in Miami. Perhaps you saw this, a video posted online claiming it was due to an alien sighting in that area. So what really happened?
Look at that police presence. That's for a fight. Come on.
Police say a group of 50 teenagers started a fight after setting off fireworks, looting. The alien, in air quotes, in the video was really just a tall person walking.
It was not. Who said that? Where'd that come from?
According to police reports.
Police did not say the alien was just a tall person.
Well, I said the tall part. The alien, they said it was just a person walking.
A 9-foot person?
Well, this does remind me of other stories where you guys have believed that. Remember that story? Was it Vegas where the aliens were in the backyard and then they got.
What happened to that cell phone video?
Gone.
Right. No video of it.
Gone.
And the claim from the Vegas story was that these 10-foot creatures then got
8, 9, or 10-foot-like human-like creature.
Yeah, 8, 9, or 10, and then they got into some SUVs.
They took the top off
some black SUVs and drove off.
But now, how'd they fit in there?
They took the top off the Jeep. That's why I said that in advance, because I knew you were going to try
off.
to. Yeah, you got to take the top off.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Or maybe it was like an extended G-Wagon or something. Mm-hmm. Okay. So what do you guys think happened here?
A couple things. With this alien situation, it is interesting that they are all tall. So we need to start considering that now in terms of our knowledge of aliens and when they come.
So,
You're only 5'6" in your earthly body, because we know there's some things we question about Lady Sintafanti. But it is interesting now that the news that does come out about aliens, just in case we thought they were little tiny green men, these are some tall bad boys. So we might want to think about what our approach would be if something was to happen. Sir, I yield to you.
Now, am I supposed to give my opinion based on Ryan Armani, the person, or through a filtered lens?
Well, we're going to take we're going to take your journalism hat off.
Okay.
Wait.
Take it off.
Take it off. Hold on. Go back to.
There we go. Now give
Mario.
us the Ryan Armani version of what you think went down in Miami.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are being tested as a people. That is what I think.
Yeah.
We are being tested.
Who's testing us?
The government.
For what?
Testing us to see how we would react as a people to such an encounter.
Let me say this.
Was it? So you're saying there was an alien, or it was an imposter alien?
I think it's an imposter. I don't believe it's a real alien.
Okay.
I don't believe that was a real alien at all.
So the government planted this alien and wanted
see how she
I didn't say that.
You didn't say nothing about that.
I didn't say that, but I think there's potentially, this is just me speaking here.
Oh, it sure
now.
is. Now, believe me.
Right?
What should be...
You're all alone over there.
based on the social media accounts, it was not just one. It was, I guess, a group of very tall beings.
Well, social media is typically right.
TikTok specifically.
I mean, TikTok knows all the facts.
My brother was in Miami at the time and is agreeing with.
Why do I always keep getting wrapped on it?
I know. Because they don't want us to tell you the truth. They're saying we have to go. Fine. Go ahead. Forget it.
No, I don't know what's going on over here. Who knows?
The
truth is out there, though.
You think that?
Get that? Did you like that? Nobody saw it.
What are you going to say when there is proof? Because Bashar, who is an alien channel on TikTok, is saying that there will be major alien contact 2024, early 2025. And I'm just saying, when that happens, what are you going to say? And you better not take the day off.
No, I will sit here and I will apologize from this very desk.
Apologize.
I'm
sorry.
That's all we want.
Okay, so I try not to laugh on that one, Preston, because they're trying to make a joke of it, but obviously they're trying to debunk it. At the same time, they have skepticism. So there's a mixed messages with these three anchor people, and it's a morning editorial one. But I found it very fascinating that the African American anchor, he brought up Bashar, who is a influencer who have background in Hollywood making movies and films, who talked about channel messages he gets from an ET being as well, a future version of himself in a parallel existing future reality. So she talked about that, and then she brought up that her brother, who lives in Miami, verifies that this is what's going on in the street, what everybody's saying, who was in Miami and saw all this happening. But, you have the skeptic, which is the female anchor reporting the news. And then you have the male anchor who's kind of the jokester, kind of the neutral jokester trying to, well, no, I don't know. And then you have the African-American lady anchor who is basically going, there's some credibility here. I've actually looked and poked into different sources that I trust. And there's some legitimacy to some of this, according to them. So what are your thoughts on these types of reactions from the news media?
Yeah, well, in many ways, this is a typical news segment on this subject with a lot of speculating, a little bit of joking around, some fear and confusion, and not a whole lot of answers. I'm certainly aware of the Miami Mall incident. And I have to tell you, as someone who's researched this subject for quite some time, I am skeptical. This does not fit the pattern of UFO contact. I don't find the witnesses particularly credible. I'm much more inclined to believe the police explanation of a group of youngsters with fireworks. I know people in this area. I have yet to see any really convincing footage. So I'm going to do a little eye rolling here.
Yeah.
Honestly, that's, Ella, for Pete's sake.
It's okay. I'll edit out. Don't worry.
Yeah. I am on the other side of the fence on this one. And I have to be, I will give the caveat that I have not gone down there and conducted a first-hand investigation. But as far as I know, none of the major UFO research organizations are taking this report as a serious event. It's something that got blown all out of proportion, went viral, hit the news cycle, and completely distorted out of all recognition. So it's very hard to say what happened there. I mean, something happened. We know something happened.
Yeah, so there's
all those police cars on the street were on the street.
Yeah, there was over 100. Yeah, so regardless of whether some people believe it really was an ET visitation or not, maybe they like shopping as much as humans love to shop. So we don't know. Maybe they're getting some presents for their family members and friends. We don't know. Or maybe it was maybe it was just a whole stage thing. We don't know. There's all these these
I would be
conversations
more
going.
inclined to that. The
Yeah.
malls are a really interesting place because people like to go in there and dress up and do all kinds of things. All kinds of events happen at malls. Let's face
Exactly.
it. There's a lot of different people there. And maybe, that news anchor was right that this was some sort of government test to see how people would react to a staged alien event.
Right.
That kind of intrigued me.
I kind of believe that one because they really had the cattle call rolled in for this one. I mean, over 100 police officers, not just from Miami, in surrounding cities pulled into the mall. A helicopter surveying the area, and they even shut down. I was reading the news reports. Different news reports were saying that they even shut down the Miami airport for about 2 hours during this time. So they really rolled it all out to really play up the scene, whatever happened.
I'm telling, because everyone's got their cell phone ready. If this was truly ET walking the, we would have the footage. I think. No, it just doesn't fit in with ET contact as we know it to be. So, I just don't find the reporting on it credible. And I think it just got blown out of all proportion.
Yeah. Well, that one is still up in the air, but I'm like, this actually made me want to watch the news a little bit more. So, something different from the usual. Let's watch a last video. I want to get your reaction on what they said, the Las Vegas incident. So let's watch WBNS TV report on the Las Vegas ET UFO incident. So let me share that.
New at 11, this next story is bizarre, strange, and every other word you can think of.
So interesting now. The real question is, did aliens actually land in someone's backyard in Las Vegas? Someone called 911 and said they did.
There's like an 8-foot person beside it, and another one's inside, and it has big eyes and looking at us, and it's still there.
Big eyes?
Big eyes, still looking at him.
What?
A police officer's body camera captured a light flashing low in the sky on the night of May 1st. Then minutes later, someone made that 911 call saying 2 large figures were in their backyard. So officers responded and met up with the caller and his family.
What'd you see?
It was like a big creature.
A big creature?
Yeah, like around 10 feet tall.
I'm not going to BS you guys. One of my partners said they saw something fall out of the sky too, so that's why I'm kind of curious. Did you see anything land in your backyard, or?
They see like a big, that's what they say. They see like a big something with light.
All right, police then go back to the backyard to investigate, but suspiciously, that part of the video is redacted by police because they say it was because they were on private property. Now, once they were done looking around, the officers had one final message for the homeowners.
If those 9-foot beings come back, don't call us, all right? Deal with it yourself. I ain't dealing with that.
Well, so far, the investigation has not turned up any concrete answers.
All right, so that's the last one. I know there's some other ones, but I wanted to make sure to get your reaction on what the news is saying. So what did you think about that?
This is, to me, right along the line of the Miami Mall incident.
Yeah.
That got a lot of headlines, was overblown, went out of all proportion, and got real mixed up and confused. So, again, I have to give the caveat that I didn't go down to Las Vegas and interview the witness personally. I did see the kid put out his video with his, tearful testimony. Saying that this is what happened. And then there's dribs and drabs of so-called footage, which none was really compelling, in my opinion. I will say that there is a person who has done the rounds of Facebook publicity saying that she went there and did an investigation and found out it was a hoax. Her words, not mine. MUFON field investigator. Though there are people who are proponents of the case. I'm skeptical, because the footage of this meteor coming in shows to be a meteor. I believe it was pretty widely viewed, and certainly has the behavior of a meteor. Doesn't match up with what we would call, your standard UFO sighting, which seems to got somehow conflated with this incident. Police were called. I mean, this was an event of some kind. Was it ET? I can't say that it was. Because I am not convinced. I'm still waiting for, an actual objective first-hand investigation that, goes one way or the other. Let the chips fall where they may.
Yeah.
But until that happens, as a researcher, I have to be skeptical.
Right.
And, I'm not convinced.
Yeah.
And, for all those who might disagree, hey, that's your prerogative. But I think we have to be very discerning, very careful. Don't jump to conclusions. Allow an investigation to take place. And I have yet to see enough evidence to convince me personally that this was an actual ET encounter.
Right. Very, very well said. And it just seems like, and I get this in my I do quantum hypnosis sessions, and I get this as well in my quantum hypnosis sessions, that there are people living here like you and I, humans, who in previous lifetimes have been these quote unquote extra dimensional beings, and they have incarnated here as what you would call starseeds, is the cult word for people of previous human origins who have incarnated before, and they're coming here at this time to help with this transition into the fifth dimension, whatever that looks like. And Terrence McKenna, like we started off in the beginning of the interview, had prefaced, this is going to be kind of like a freak show. Everything is going to come through. It's going to be weird. And as we go further into the fifth dimension, lines are going to be blurred. Things are not going to make sense. I don't know what else to say, but welcome to the freak show. Because it just seems like it's getting more and more interesting. And I think there is a pattern that I've noticed in some of this stuff coming into mainstream conversation, is that the topic of extra dimensional beings and their technology and presence keeps getting closer and closer and closer to our front door. Like literally, knock, knock, Preston. I'm here for dinner. Do you serve water or whatever? I don't know. But it just, from the U.S. Congress having conversation to local police having preparatory conversation to local news media having reactions to random citizens recording whatever they're recording and having their commentary. It just seems like it's just getting closer and closer and closer to being in our living rooms, like literally, and being
humanity's always been on a pathway towards an increasing of awareness, an increasing of knowledge, fighting against delusion and misunderstanding and confusion. And I'm not a huge fan of the term interdimensional beings or extra dimensional beings, because honestly, we as human beings are interdimensional. I mean, we have a soul. We can go out of body. There is life after death. I think basically all entities could be defined that way. It's again, terminology, how useful is naming something to help us understand it. It can't be more limiting than anything. But yeah, I think what we're seeing here, honestly, is the growing pains of trying to pull ourselves out of complete delusion and ignorance. So we'll see.
That's an appropriate word. Yeah, for sure, Preston. I mean, this conversation is going to, I'm sure next year we're going to have a conversation with even more interesting stuff coming through. So this conversation keeps, getting closer and closer to our home. And, the thing is as a Buddhist studies student my whole life, one of the things that preface for the Christ consciousness of a fifth dimensional being and reality that we engage and interact in is that you have to open yourself to all versions. Doesn't mean they have to be best friends, but be open that there exists all versions of life in our reality, and that our good Lord has created many different versions. So that is always very interesting to think about, because one of the things in ancient Sanskrit knowledge is that in the higher dimensions of consciousness, we actually engage with other beings, kind of like Star Trek, that's like the future reality of a higher dimensional reality that humanity engages in. So I don't know if these are just the beginning, like you said, growing pains as we mature as a consciousness of this world and start opening up to other experiences in the galaxy. But two things that are a fact is that Elon Musk and many other private agencies are working themselves to get us to become spacefaring in space. And there's a lot of conversation about that. So we'll see how that evolves. And then the other thing that is emerging, that's kind of knocking at the door of the fifth dimension, is that AI and AI consciousness is emerging as well. And that's also got some very mixed feelings from different people. So those two things are knocking at the front door. And in order to adapt to those, it's going to require a higher level of consciousness that exists in fifth dimensional realities and above. So, Preston, do you have a last message that you want to leave viewers about this freak show that seems to be unfolding with us? I don't know.
Yeah, sure.
I don't mean to offend anybody.
I would say, one, don't look to our governments for answers. They have a long, heinous history of lying, misinforming, and pushing a fear narrative. If you want to know the truth, you have to do the work. You have to do the research. You have to be discerning. You have to build a base level of scientific knowledge and be very careful to separate belief from knowledge. You can believe whatever you want. Doesn't make it true. You have to be very careful. What do you actually know? So yeah, just allow love and truth and compassion to guide your actions. Remember that we are all one, and that, a higher awareness will come, but you have to work at it. We really all need to pull ourselves out of fear and delusion, because that, I think, is what's really choking our progress right now. People are just got some crazy ideas in their head. So let's just step back, be careful, be very discerning, do your research, and let's move forward.
Preston, do you think that we should be like children in the way that we approach this? Like in that, just the innocent consciousness? Be discerning and mindful, obviously. So don't, jump over so quickly, but should we be like children when it comes to entering into these experiences?
Yeah, well, there's something really wonderful about a child and their fascination and their open-mindedness and their ability to absorb knowledge and consider new ideas, because they don't have interpretations. They don't have prior beliefs. They don't discriminate against something that's a little bit different. So in that regard, yes, I think we should be absolutely open-minded. But on the other hand, we do have to be mature and reasonable and kind to each other as well. I think it's very important to be open-minded, but it's equally important to be, how can I put this? Careful in what you believe to be true and what you know to be true. People often will state their opinion as fact. It's not a fact. Just the way you believe something doesn't, again, make it true. I've said that a couple of times. So I think ultimately we really have to just look at what we know to be true, know all that is knowable, and then proceed.
Right. Well said. Well, Preston, I think the UFO phenomenon is so much more interesting when multidimensional consciousness is included in this evolving discussion on the nature of our holographic reality. So for more information about Preston Dennett's books, please visit his website, prestondennett.weebly.com. It's also in the show description. And thank you kindly for listening to another enlightening conversation. Until next time, blessings. Mwah.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Merkaba Chakras, where we talk Buddhism in the fifth dimension. For more information about today's guest, please go to the show description. For more information about Vaughn's metaphysical work, please go to merkabachakras.com. The views expressed today are for entertainment purposes and do not necessarily reflect the views of the host or replace any medical or legal advice. Don't forget to subscribe for more interviews about the fifth dimension. Until we meet again, blessings.